Hello and welcome to the Quiver channel. I am Jason, your host. I hope everybody's having a good day, morning, afternoon, evening, and wherever you are in the world when you watch this. I'm going to say something now, and I'm not being sarcastic. Thank you, DWP. DWP, the Departments of Work and Pension. Now, Paola didn't ask to have cancer at 21. She didn't ask for that cancer to be incurable, and she didn't ask for her whole life to change. She didn't ask for the medication to slowly destroy her ability to walk, perform complex tasks. But it happened. She didn't ask to slowly die. She was not someone who was on benefits because she wanted an easy life. And even though I felt a lot of the time I was in an adversarial role with the DWP, I do understand how many cheats there are out there, how many people try to game the system. Anybody who is truly disabled, anybody who is truly ill, and on disability and on the benefit system, are not doing it for an easy life. They are doing it for some kind of life at all. And over the years, I've met people from all around the world, and I've been fortunate to make friends with a lot of them. And I've come to understand just how good our benefit system is compared to most places in the world. And you have to fight even a lot less than a lot of these places. I am using my things to try and focus myself. It's a good stimming aid, this, as well as good for dexterity. And so, without the DWP, without the benefit system, Paola would have probably died a lot earlier, because I wouldn't have been able to look after her. I wouldn't have been able to be at home with her. Even though I was myself incapacitated and put on incapacity in that because of my issues, it's hard for me to see during that period of time that I was being looked after at the same time, which I was. I never had to go for a job interview. They had me flagged on the system. The DWP knew I was severely disabled way before I did. And apart from a few clerical issues and problems during Paola's life, that stable, the benefits, that lifeline allowed Paola and me to survive, to have a life, not just survive, but to have a life. Most people on disability don't want a better life than those working. People who work say, oh my God, they can do this, and they don't have to go out work. I can't afford that. I can't afford all these things. It took 6 months. When Paola died, the only really bad thing happened, and that is, as soon as Paola died, because most of the benefits were in her name, they all got cancelled on the day of her death. This wrecked me. Oh my fucking God, this wrecked me. I had to sell so much stuff back then because the income for the house went from over 1,000 to under 400 without any warning, without thingy. That's been changed now, thankfully. But back then, in the end of 2018, I wasn't in any fucking thing. I mean, they back paid me all the stuff. They, my doctor, my senior psychologist, and everybody else helped get me the stuff registered for me because I was in no shape. I was in no shape at the end of 2018 to do anything myself. Paola had died. Had very little contact with everybody. I'd just been diagnosed with bowel cancer. My life, as far as I was concerned, was over. I was at an end of life point of view. I didn't give a shit about anything. And so, in a way, a lot of it was my fault that my benefits didn't get switched over quick enough and that. Because I didn't give a fuck. I really didn't. I was in a deep depression spiral. I had lost my anchor. I had no anchor for what we know now is autism and my other problems. But at the time I was just, everything was black and white. The world was faded. There was no emotions. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't sleep. And I was logically just putting together a plan to have an end-of-life event that wouldn't affect anybody else as much as I could. So, but I remember the day when I was in the backyard, just walking around the backyard. So I'd started walking around in circles in the backyard. I don't know, but it just was. I just was doing that. It was like an external version of stimming. Of course, we didn't have the full diagnosis and everything. We were still under the reactive depression umbrella. But I remember being in the backyard and I was probably actually planning what to do about the last bits and pieces, what to plan out before the end of life event. I wasn't doing this because I was looking for an escape. I wasn't doing this because, or so I thought, because my brain was doing weird shit. I was doing it because every day I was reliving my wife's death 4 or 5 times. And I mean, my PTSD, I was diagnosed with PTSD after that point, but can you imagine how long you, no matter how fucking strong you are, how long you would last if the love of your life, the person most important to you, died, and then for 4 months or so, with all the other problems as well, diagnosed with bowel cancer and all that kind of thing, for 4 months, every time you closed your eyes, every time you lay on a bed, every time you did other things that triggered it, you would repeat that last 30 minutes of your wife's death. From the moment you got to the hospital to the moment you watched them try to bring her back and having to tell the doctors that they can stop, that she isn't coming back. And having it all repeat, the emotions, the tear down, everything. 4 or 5 times a day. Imagine how long you would last. How long until you would want it to just end. Seriously, people. I don't care how fucking brave you are or how much strength you have inside you. That kind of thing will fuck you over. And so I was in the backyard and just basically ghosting myself. I was a ghost. I wasn't real. I wasn't connected to anything. Nothing felt real. And out of the blue, I had the house phone in my pocket because I couldn't hear it from the backyard, and I got a call from the DWP. A really nice guy. Said to me, do you know, after doing the security check, he says, do you know you've been flagged on our system as severely disabled? And I'm like, no. And then I realised that I just filled out all the forms with the help of the people who were looking after me. And the funny thing is, every week those people were ringing me up and saying, hey, have they denied your disability claim yet? We need to know so we can start the appeal process, because they were so used to claims being denied. That's that fact, but they were so used to it. And so I'm in the backyard, and this guy says this to me. He says, what does this mean? He says, well, you're going to have some money coming to you soon, and it's there'll be a large amount because it's backdated to the date of your claims and that went through. And at the same time, he said, now, because you've been designated as severely disabled, I can flag you for what's called a premium disability payment. It's a little bit extra you'll get every week. I think it worked out about £60 a month or something. I can't remember the exact amount. Extra to help with day-to-day living and things like that. And so from that moment on, I didn't know it quite then, because it didn't really help me instantly, but that was the beginning of my return to life, as it were. And even when, during these years since then, all the things that have happened to do with next door, to do with the hassles from when the drug addicts were next door, and all the problems and all the things going on, the harassment and everything, the DWP have actually, even though they are overworked, have always kept an eye on me. And what do I mean there? I rang them up about 2 months ago, and when I finally got through to talk to someone, the first thing they asked once they had gone through the security question was, are you still having problems with the people from next door? The person had actually read the notes that were flagged up right at the start of my account and said, have you had any more issues with them? We've got a thing, it's all flagged just in case they try to cancel your benefits or anything stupid like that they threatened to do back then. And it was actually really nice to know someone was looking after me. Now, I don't know what the future's going to hold for me, but I do know that without the benefit system, without the benefits that I get now, I would be at the most barely surviving. I would probably more likely be on the street. I would probably more likely be out there somewhere waiting to die. Now, I know the benefits system doesn't work for everyone and it's not perfect, but I appreciate it because of how it's worked for me. And a few days ago, I they all this stuff that's been going on about, oh, they've taken away blah blah blah, and this, you can't get this winter fuel things, stuff and that. But for the most needy, the thing is this: does a person really need the warm homes discount to the warm homes, or the winter fuel payment, if they've got a private pension that pays them £150,000 a year? Do they need it? Do they need it if they've got 2 homes? Do they need it if they have all these things in place? They may think, oh my God, I worked all my life, I've got all this, why shouldn't I get that? But do they need it? The benefit system is supposed to be there for those of us who are fucked, who are in a situation where we haven't got those things in place. I got a letter from the DWP 2 days ago on, it was actually Monday morning, 3 days ago, Monday morning. Now, whenever I get a letter from the DWP, I'm always like, oh my God, what is this? What is this? I'm always freaked out by it, even though I've never really got a bad letter from them. And it's like, you've been added to the warm home discount. £150 will be sent to your energy supplier automatically. You don't have to do anything about this. Because of your benefits and because of your disabilities and everything, you have been added to the list, and you are going to get £150 towards your winter fuel bill. That pays for almost an entire month's of electricity usage. In fact, over a month's worth of electricity usage through winter. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to put my name down. I didn't have to thingy. See, this is the thing. I haven't been moved on to universal credit. I haven't been asked to go and do a work placement or ever thingy, because even before I understood how fucked up I was, my doctor was always telling me, for years when Paola was ill, he kept trying to get me to deal with my own mental issues, but of course my entire focus was, Paola's more important, I've got to keep Paola alive. So I didn't do any of the things that I should have done back then for myself. I never prioritized myself, because just the way it was. But once they realise that you're in a situation that, and you've filled out all the thing is this: there's a lot of negative thingy to do with the DWP, and it's part of the government. You don't want to tell them anything. But the problem is this: if you are completely straight with them, completely honest, and allow them to look at your medical records and give them copies of everything when they ask, then if you are actually ill, if you are not conning the system, if you are not trying to get something when you should actually be, because there is, I mean, I hate to say it, but it is true, there's a lot of people on benefits who would benefit from being in work, that it would help their self-esteem to be earning money, to be getting a job, not because they can be a productive member of society or any bullshit like that, but actually for their own self-worth, being able to pay their own rent, being able to pay for stuff each week, not from a handout, but because they've worked for it. And the system that they're bringing in that will hopefully help, will help more people work from home. disabled people work from home and that. Now, I've already gone through on other videos why I can't function to the point where I could work. In fact, I remember I was doing a good week. I was feeling good. And I went to my doctor and said, do you think I should try and get a job? And he looked at me as if I was fucking crazy. It was like, after all the effort we got to get you on disability, and it says, no, this, your ability to function is so impaired in the outside world that he said, I can't think of any job that you could do that you'd be able to stably keep down to the point of it not being a detriment to your health and mental well-being. The fear of losing the money in that. We never see ourselves as disabled as other people see. We never do. This is why for years and years I never ever thought of having a mobility scooter. Just imagine all I could have been doing these last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. How much of a boost it would have been to my mental well-being to be able to leave the house, to be able to go places, to not feel trapped. Well, I never, until the DWP did their assessment to me, and oh my god, I was so freaked out by the assessment. I was waiting for so long for it, and I was so expectant. Once again, it's hard to not, when talking with and connecting with the DWP, to not expect it to be adversarial. It's especially with depression and everything like that. You think everything's going to go worse and bad for you. I was so freaked out. I was planning out how much of my stuff I could sell if they removed all my benefits. How much a core little bit of, with keeping a little core amount of stuff that would keep me going to function and everything. And everything else, I had started making lists and plans and what would happen and all this, expecting the worst. And that wonderful person, it's funny, when you talk to them, and once you list all the problems and they check their records, by about 5 minutes into the conversation, she was actually are you okay? And like, oh my god, how are you dealing with this? And that, it was like, the entire thing turned into it. And then she says, hey, have you thought about trying to get a mobility scooter or something like that, or a car, or some way that you can create some kind of safe space outside your house so you can leave the house? And that is where it came from, this idea, because I had never myself thought, because mobility scooters are for disabled people. And in your brain, you don't think of yourself like that, even though objectively you don't. It's hard for you to think it. So if it wasn't for the DWP, I wouldn't be going out on the scooter. If it wasn't for that assessment, if it wasn't for the system in place, I would not be doing as well as I am now. Yes, I have still got a massive amount of issues that I have to face every single day, but I am in so much better condition than if not. And this is what one of the reasons I talk about this like this is it. A lot of people on disability in that believe that they don't deserve it, that they feel guilty, even when the entire system is working for them and tells them that they should be on these systems. It's hard for your brain to actually accept that you're incapacitated in some way, that you're disabled in some way. And a lot of that problems are... See, I've always said, when it comes to disabilities, apart from the worst case scenarios of physical disability, there is massive, and I mean massive, amount of options out there for work for physically disabled people. There is a huge amount of enhancements and that for physically disabled people that can help them get a job and be in a function. But mental disabilities, that's not as easy to fix. That's not as easy as to deal with. Like I've said, get me a job where it doesn't matter if I disappear for a day or miss a day because my brain has just seen something on the stairs and I've just stopped where I am and I've gone catatonic for 5 hours just looking at something. Yesterday I disappeared. At night. I've been talking to my friends. It was about, I think it was 8:30, something like that. We had been chatting on Discord and everything like that. And this is the sneaky part. This is the part when it gets you. We had been having some awesome discussions about games and licensing and how games should be classed as our modern sort of antiques and history, as important as art and everything else, and that we're allowing them to disappear now. We shouldn't allow them to disappear. Anyway, we were talking about this and I was in a really good mood and I came off Discord and I committed the cardinal sin. I didn't pick up my phone and start my Audible book. I was feeling happy. I was thinking about what we had been talking about, and I thought, okay, it's 8:30, just go and get a few things ready, and then go to bed. At 12:30, just after midnight, I came back to myself, sitting on the stairs. I'd gone down to get a drink, and as I was going down the stairs, my brain went in a different direction. And I just sat down and started to think about, I think it was to do with generation of artwork from an AI perspective that gives an ability for single person developers to control what they do have more control and more licensing ability. And my brain just shut down all the external stuff, just disconnected from me. I just sat on the stairs, halfway down. I got that far from here to there, and 4 hours just disappeared. And I came back to myself at midnight. Get me a job that can handle that. Get me a job that can handle that. See, this is the problem. because of all my coping strategies, it's easy to fool myself that I'm not disabled. I can function pretty good most of the time when I'm using all my coping strategies, when I've got everything going for me, when I've got all my things running, when I'm talking to you like this, when I'm doing everything. And sometimes my brain says, you're not disabled. Go on, you just got to go down and get yourself a drink. That's the problem. Everything I do has to be, and thankfully it wasn't something bad. My brain was in such a positive spin because of what we had discussed on Discord, and I was just thinking about it and who I would talk to about it, because we need to sort out and have access to games for longer and so on. And I just fooled myself and made the mistake of getting out of my seat without my Audible boot running. That's the problem. When you have multiple issues that can happen like that, how could I ever hold down an actual job? How could I have any kind of schedule? And how could I not completely be consumed by the fear of what happens if one day I don't do my work and I don't get paid, and the bills come in and electricity needs to be paid, and I don't have money because I couldn't keep the job, because I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. So yeah, there is some of us who need the benefit system, need the disability system. If you are disabled and are able to do a job, then the government should give you every kind of fucking support possible so that you can do that job. Because being in work brings its own positive boost to your self-esteem. Having your own money, savings, and you don't have to worry about if you have too much money in your savings, will it affect your benefits? You don't have to worry about when you can take a holiday, as long as you've got the time saved up and your life is your own. But there is some of us who need this system in place to keep us going. And yes, I am fucking well grateful, because it allows us to not just survive, but actually have a tiny bit of a life. So I hope you're all having a good day. This is Jason from the Web Channel.